And we're live. This is Two Guys, Eight Eyes. I'm Paul Ash, and with me is a fantastic Lenny Iozzo. Lenny, how you doing, brother?
I'm good. How are you doing, Paul?
I'm doing well. We're testing the waters here. We're thinking about doing a show together where we'll be inviting other people on, just chatting or maybe talking about movies. But let us know what you like about the show, and that'll help us get a little bit of a direction. Lenny is a friend of mine that we met on set. The first set I remember is the Harry Herbert Affair,
That's right.
uh, and we spent a lot of time on set there, as well as well the Bold Type. There's other
I-
projects that
We've
we've
done
been.
so many. We've done so many. I mean, we've known each other for at least what, 5 years, 6 years?
Oh no, I don't think Harry Herbert Affair was that long ago. Was
No,
it
maybe.
at least 3 or 4 years? 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
So you don't age us out of the industry. Just don't. We gotta like we don't want to be too old. Well, I can see people are logging in to watch. Say hello. Just put it into chat. Tell us where you're watching from, what you're drinking, and we'll have. And if it's just water, that's fine. I'm not encouraging everyone to be an alcoholic. The Lenny, what are you drinking right now? You held up a fancy drink earlier. I thought it was milk.
No, it's not milk. It's the first time I'm trying it. I went to the store, to the liquor store. Wanted to buy a bottle of Bailey's, which I usually do on a regular basis, not a regular basis, but off and on basis. And I looked at the other creams next to it, and I was curious about this one. This is called Courrier du Bois. It's made with real maple syrup, made in Quebec, so it's local.
And
Tastes
that was the creme de Coeur de Bois, because Coeur de Bois is also a maple whiskey.
okay. So this is creme. That's right.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's delicious.
If you ever want to get drunk on pancakes, it is the stuff. It is definitely the stuff. I mean, if 12-year-old me had discovered that, 12-year-old me was pretty drunk all the time anyway. So, like, you don't get ahead like this just from drinking water when you're in your developing teens. I All right, was just a sad point. Everyone is fine with that. Okay, good. Just
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm feeling good because I did like a rehearsal in wardrobe the past 2 days, which has been fine because I booked a commercial coming up. Can't say what it is yet, but we're doing it now. How long have you been acting, Lenny?
Um, I started yesterday. No, no. Um, well, I mean, you know what? It feels like I started yesterday because I mean, every day is a new day for me. You know, I'm always learning something, which I think is something that I'm gonna end up experiencing every single day until I stop. Acting. It's a lifelong thing, right? We're always a student. So, but technically, I think I started training as an actor probably around about maybe I don't know 4 years ago. I started training as an actor, doing workshops. Well, I started actually no, I started doing a couple of workshops in the city here in Montreal, starting around 2010. So I had gone to an acting school somewhere around 2007. Did that for about a year, and then I started doing some workshops in 2010. Uh, but I'd have to say, seriously speaking, I think my training really started about maybe 4 years ago. So it's fairly young. I'm a fairly young actor.
A fairly young actor, but you're also the communications director for the Impro Gym.
Right.
Would you how would you describe what the Impro Gym is for people? Because immediately I see Impro, I thought improv, but that's not exactly it. It's
It's Impro Gym. So Impro would stand for I am pro. So we try. I mean, Impro Gym started actually in 2006 before I even knew what it was. Until I took that was one of the workshops I had taken in the past and fell in love with it right away. And my girlfriend Rosie, who you know, she introduced
hi
me
Rosie.
to. Well, she's somewhere back there. I never know what she's doing back there. and so she introduced us, and we fell in love with each other right away. Our friendship grew very strong. She invited me over to to the workshop at Impro Gym that she was doing in LaSalle. I fell in love with the workshop as well very quickly, and I told her that she could bring it. She should bring it into the city. So we did that together, and that was about 3 years ago, almost maybe 4 years ago. I mean, since we're in 2021 already, so we've been very successful with that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
What area of the city is it located in, and what can an actor expect going into it?
Well, so Impro Gym, what it is it's a bunch of sessions put together in a span of 2 months' time. And basically, it's an actor coming in there, not learning how to be an actor, but to actually put their acting skills into motion. Right, you're always exercising your skills constantly. So it's a gym. So I would say that whether you have 20 years experience, whether you have 1 year experience, you come to the gym and everybody's pretty much there individually for themselves. We work together, of course, but I mean everybody's there just training their skills. I mean we go every session we start off. I mean we do like everything from meditation to breathing techniques. We go into improv. We do have improv. We do a lot of improvisation exercises and warm ups, and then we go into, sometimes we can go into cold reading. We'll do camera work. We'll do scene work. We do a bunch of stuff that an actor needs to work on. My partner who started this in 2006, she Anik Matern, if I can say her name, of course, I don't think she has a problem with that. But she facilitates the class, and she's the session. She's been a coach for over 30 years. She's, at least my opinion, one of the best coaches in the city. And she facilitates. She writes out the program, and she facilitates the sessions for 8 months. So I'm there as an actor, even though I'm the director of communications. I'm there as an actor because it's, like I said, it's something that I don't want to miss out on. I mean, it's really great training. Keeps you focused in between auditions, which is what actors need to do, right? I mean, we can't just do a workshop and then we train a month and a half later or 2 months later. You want to kind of always train on a weekly basis,
Keeping those skills fresh.
that's right.
Now, the first part of that question though was what part of the city is it located in?
Right, sorry. So right now we've always been centralized in the Plateau area on Saint Denis and Mount Royal. So we have a studio up there it's not our studio, we rent the studio, and it's at Studio Biz. But now with the lockdown, the curfew, and gyms are closed. So right now we have Impro Gym online, which is called Impro Core. And
Can they find that from the Facebook page, or
definitely
okay.
we post whatever we do. We post on the Impro Gym page. So this is called Impro Core, and it's online. We've been doing it since November, and it's been doing really well. A lot of actors have been coming on, and it's something that I think we're going to end up staying with, even when all this boils over. We'll probably still keep it online because we've been getting a lot of traction, even outside of the city, outside of the province, and then hopefully sooner rather than later we're back in studio, because that's where I'd love to be.
Yeah. Congratulations to you for the online success as well. I notice we have a bunch of people watching. Say hello. Drop a note into chat, and that way we know you're here. And maybe tell us where you're watching from, or if you have a question for Lenny or myself, please feel free to say that, because I can see we got a good number of people watching. Only a couple of you hit like yet, so arg. Let's work on that a little bit. Now, Lenny, okay, we've had some crazy discussions on set, but have what's the craziest thing that you've seen happen on set, like fun set? If you don't want to mention the production, that's fine. But if it was crazy fun, maybe you can mention the production. If it was crazy bad, you don't have to mention the production.
That's a good question. I mean, I've been on quite a few sets. I've been on a lot of sets in the past 10 years.
As
Either
an actor, extra, and a stand-in.
a stand-in, yeah. So, I mean, nothing really crazy goes on because you kind of want to be focused, and you can't really fool around that much on set. But um, I don't know. You got me there. The craziest thing on set. I don't know. I'm usually always focused on what's going on set. I don't fool around, and kind of like the crews that I work with. It's usually always the same crews, more or less, that you work with, and they're very professional. I mean, I don't know about sets that you've been on, but the sets that I've been on, I mean, I've been very professional. They're very, very good. You get those slow days. I mean, anything crazy. I mean, no, I don't think I've ever witnessed. I hope one day I do. Maybe I don't know. Do I
Yeah.
want to witness a crazy day on set? I don't know. I think I love the work so much that I just want everything to work out perfectly, or else the director will get upset and the producers will definitely get upset if something slows down production. So I think I hope I never get to witness a crazy. How about yourself? Have you ever?
I've been on a set where safety was not job one, and that ended up being a little bit crazy. I won't mention the production, so please don't ask. But it was, yeah, there was. It involved like horses and explosions, and then rather than going to with stunt people, the director started asking different extras to fight or
Hmm,
to do stunt work basically. Uh, and yeah, some people who are not union trained, etc., were really excited to be asked to do that and very exuberant, which isn't good for everyone who's around them.
yeah, that actually now that you're talking about stunts, that happened twice with me on set, and it was I'm not gonna say the productions, but I was doing one of them. I was standing in for, and they put me into this fireplace where I'm supposed to have. It looks like it looked well. It was actually a fireplace on set, but what it's supposed to look like when you watch the show is supposed to look like a burning building, and the main actor who I was standing in for, they pull him out of this explosion. And so they put me in his place, and one of the guys had to pull me out. But I was inside the fireplace at least until almost neck size at the top of my chest, and I'm claustrophobic. So I was there, and the third AD is looking at me, and she's looking at the director, and she's like, well, he can't, he's not supposed to be doing this, And so I'm just looking at her, and I'm like, it's okay, don't worry, it's okay, It's like I'll take the blame for it, I guess, but really, we shouldn't be doing stuff like that because
Yeah.
you don't want anything to happen. But all to say though, it's all part of fun, right? This is what we do. We want to always be in there in the middle of everything. And the second thing was, I think you were there. I'm not sure. It was on the Bull Type. We were in an elevator. Okay,
I didn't see you in the elevator scenes.
it was in an elevator scene. This was last year, and
Oh, yes, I think I know what you're talking about. Okay.
they kept throwing me around the elevator, and there was this big huge guy that had to just kind of like push me out of the way, and I kept bashing my face on another actor's shoulder. And every single time we did this, we must have did this about maybe 5 times over, and every time my mouth kept hitting, like it really hurt, kept hitting the shoulder area, it was like that, cut. Anyways, sometimes we want to be stuntmen, and sometimes
Yeah. It's the thing is, if something was to happen to you on set when you're doing something that you're not supposed to be doing, you're not perfectly covered, which is one of the things. Um, Now, Cat J is an Impro Core member here, and they're watching from Pennsylvania. Welcome, Cat. Somebody told me that they didn't think the chat was working. You might have to go to the actual YouTube channel to chat, or onto uh, one of my Facebook fan pages. Actually, it's the Paul Ash Comedy Facebook page is the one that will allow you to chat as well as the YouTube. So either one of those will allow you to join in. Thank you, Kat, for joining in from Pennsylvania. Uh, yeah, that there's a lot of things about being on set that are like it's all hurry up and then wait for the most part. Like when we met on Harry Kerbert, that was a cold night, the first night that we were filming together.
Yeah.
And you were dressed as like a 1950s American cop. I was in pajamas and a robe. And everyone thought I was doing some kind of like crazy extra step in it. But it was just as soon as I was out of camera view, I was hugging the grill of the van that was running
I
just
remember.
for the extra heat. Yeah. Uh, which is,
You know,
yeah,
the my partner Anik Matern was on there. She had a great role in that film as well. She was.
really.
I didn't know, and how ironic it is. We hadn't met then,
Okay.
so that's funny.
Stefan is saying he's drinking a screwdriver and he's downloading OS 10. Why did the both of you fine men decide to act? Lenny, I'm going to let you answer that one first.
That's an easy one for me. I mean, I keep telling people that I've been acting ever since I've been born. You know, it's just that just entertainment has been in my blood. It's been in my heart. You know, I was in music in my teens up until my early 20s, uh, and then went into radio. No, I worked. I was in major market radio station here in Montreal. Did that for about maybe about 7 8 years, and then I met Rosie. And Rosie, who's the love of my life, she said, "You know what? You need to get into film." And even though I did a couple of extra work here and there in my time, I never really took it seriously. I was like, "Oh, extra work. This is fun. This is great," you know. But I always looked at the actors working, and I always said, I wish I was there in front of the camera. And I met Rosie, and Rosie said, "You need to be an actor." And I was kind of getting bored of radio. Radio was kind of like taking this curve where creativity wasn't really the main focus, which still today it should always be the main focus. But so I went into film. I became an actor. Well, I became an actor. I'm still trying today to become an actor. I'm trying to really become a really good actor. And thanks to my agent, who's I love her to death. She's just fantastic. Sandy Martinez. I'll say her name. I hope she's watching. And if she's not, that's fine. She's a hard worker, so she needs to rest. But she's a beautiful soul, and she believes in me, and that brings me a lot of confidence. And that's really important for an actor is to have a really good agent to give their actors confidence. I know a lot of actors that the only relationship they have with their agent is when they get an email, and sometimes I talk to them and I'm like, well, what does your agent say? And they'll be like, well, I don't know, I haven't spoken to my agent in like 9 months. And I'm like, that's a horrible relationship. You're a partnership, right? But Sandy's not just a partner; she's also a very dear friend, one of the closest in our lives. So we love her very much. If she's listening, we love you. How about you, Paul?
Uh, my first love is actually stand up comedy. I just found out that acting pays a little bit better and has a similar skill set. So, and it's very beneficial. If my face is out there, then people will recognize me from whatever they recognize me from. And then when I go to do a show at a club, they can say, "Hey, you've seen this person here." We had a couple questions come in. Uh, Pose is saying, I remember Lenny from working at Q92 in the Beat 92.5 about a billion years ago. I don't think it was a billion, might have been a little less than that. He was Lenny the intern when I started working at the reception desk there. Good times. Good
Yeah.
times indeed. Nathaniel Armranian says, what kind of art do you want to make? I want to make comedy. I want to make people laugh, and I want people to think. I mean, some of my favorite jokes to tell are ones that will stick with people afterwards, and they'll still chuckle when they see the reference later. And but what kind of art do you want to make, Lenny?
I mean, everybody keeps telling me when they meet me, the first impression is that he's so serious, and I mean, I'm the last person to be serious, right? So my grandfather always, I take after my grandfather, and he used to play always the jokes where you tap the person on the shoulder, person turns around, but he's really on that side.
Mhm.
So I love that kind of comedy. So I don't know if comedy is my thing. A lot of people say I'm funny. I don't see it. I love to make fun of myself, which pleases me a lot. I don't know why, but I find if you can make fun of yourself, people love you more. I don't know why that works. Maybe it's a comedy trick. I don't know, but I would really love to dig into drama. There's a bit of drama inside me that still needs to come out. I just need to go and find it. And I hope that I can do some really serious roles in my future.
The nerdy filmmaker saying he's never heard anyone say anything but amazing things about Sandy. And Nick is saying, Lenny, you are an actor. And yes, Sandy is a great person and agent. And yeah, praise coming from Jonathan Emil as well. Thank you all for tuning in and watching and helping us drive this forward with some questions. Here's did you see Nanette, Hannah Gadsby's special that was on Netflix?
No.
No. Um, she's a stand up comic, but she was doing something. I don't know if it was the Melbourne or the Adelaide Fringe, and it was just so great that they filmed it as a comedy special. But I think it was more than a comedy special. It was more of a one person show because she delved into what self deprecating humor does,
Okay.
and she considered the self deprecating humor to be um, detrimental in the long run because a lot of the self-deprecating stuff involved trauma that she felt and a way to laugh at it, but it reinforced the trauma by the fact that she was continuing to denigrate herself in the joke.
Wow.
And so it was I highly recommend Nanette. It's a very deep thing. Have as much as there's comedy that'll make you laugh out loud, there's going to be stuff that'll make you cry. So have some Kleenex handy when you watch it. I hope it's still on Netflix, but yeah, she's got another special out now as well.
I don't know. I always thought that. I mean, I still think I could still think that. I don't understand. I don't know if I would. I would definitely watch it. But I mean, I make fun of myself only because
It's the safest target.
it's the safest target. But at the same time, I want people to know that if anybody would talk like this to you, it's okay because look at me. I'm okay with it. So I mean, people need to, especially today. There's the whole world has gone sensitive. We have to be careful with what we say. So it's important to be careful what we say, of course, but at the same time, we have to know that if we can make fun of ourselves, I mean, obviously there's limits of what you can say, right? But I mean, people need to understand. People need to like just rekindle with humor again, and silliness. And, I mean, I grew up with Jack Tripper. So, I mean, we need to understand that, if somebody hits their head on the door, we can laugh at that and not say, well, you can't laugh at that. He really got hurt. No, we
Yeah,
can laugh at that.
it's also I on the show I did Wednesday, I got reminded about uh, the fact that the alt right, like the white supremacist movement, some of the like the incels, they actually start recruiting young men as like boys, basically ages 8 to 11, through memes and meme culture, and putting out things, and then if anyone's offended, well, oh, it's just a joke, and the fact that saying it's just a joke sort of uh, softens it, so it's the alt right and the white supremacists and the incels just think other people. It sort of insulates them as a single group that other people just don't understand and are too sensitive. So whenever people say it's someone's too sensitive, I get like that's a little flag for me. I believe in communication and communicating with people.
Absolutely.
Uh, but yeah, if you ever hear like an 11-year-old use the word triggered, as a punchline, or or as a denigrating term, you should check their internet history. It's
Well, you have a couple of shows, right? Outside of this one. I mean,
yes, yeah.
how is that? Have you ever encountered any like conversations with people that were delicate, or you usually what do you how does it work? Do you usually most of your guests are comedians?
Yeah, it's for the most part. I just bring people on that I like. So I do They Talk Funny, which happens at least once a week, usually on a Tuesday, sometimes on a Thursday, sometimes both days of the week. But that is me just talking with stand-up comics about their writing and their craft style, and we've never really, with the comedians I've been talking to, we've never discussed where the line is. And the line, this is you've always heard the term the line. The thing is, the line always moves. Right, as culture grows, as communication grows, it always moves. It generally moves forward, except for those people who are trying to move it back. Um, and that's the thing. And I have jokes that when I wrote them weren't over the line, but now I don't do them anymore because I feel that they are a bit more over the line. It's also, I have to look at who I am. Like, this is the instrument that I have coming forward, going out with, and so there's things that I deal with. I do a show every Wednesday night. This is the Love Doctor live stream. So
Love it.
uh, that is we it's me and a panel of burlesque performers, or variety performers, and we're answering questions about love, sex, and relationships. And we do it live, and the audience is giving us questions, and they have a method of giving anonymous questions as well. And with those, and it's a show that I've done live on stage for like 7 years, and just because of the lockdown, we moved it to online, and people are liking it online. And it's sometimes I get heavy questions coming in, dealing with uh, consent issues, as well as the funny jokes about people asking what pubic hairstyle they should have. But it's that cross borderline, and it all works together because we're doing it with common sense and sincerity. So
Of course.
uh, yeah, never has that character been accused of crossing the line. So that's one of the things. Rosie is asking, what type of role would be a dream role and why? And who are your acting role models? Let's handle these one at a time. What would be a dream role for you, Lenny?
I think a dream role for me would be, I mean, look, I can go the easy route and say, any role on Star Wars. If I can hold up a saber, that's it. I can die the next day. I'm fine. I'm happy with that. If I can have a saber fight with somebody, that's great. But on a serious note, something that's very inspirational to the world. I mean, a classic film, whichever, obviously a positive inspiration. Something that I can, people can look at me and say, you know what, that role really inspired me. And, I don't know, something that can really touch people and say, you know what, kind of like the way what Rocky did for me, what
Mm-hmm.
Fonzie did for me, what Jack Tripper did for me, all those roles, put them in one. I mean, you cannot put them all in one because they're all different characters, but I mean, they've all, you know, set something inside me. And if I can do that just to a viewer, I mean, man,
Yeah.
that is a hell of an achievement. I would be so proud of myself.
Hmm.
How about you, Paul?
I want to play a bad guy. For me, it's always been like the bad guys in a film are the ones who make it more interesting. Um, I recently got my first time a chance to read for a bad guy, just this week. So fingers are crossed, but hopefully, um, I actually I showed the read to a friend, um, and they were quite surprised watching the audition tape, and they went, "Okay, I like you. You're friendly. You're always been kind. The person on that video would hate crime me in a second." So that was so I felt I actually they were actually kind of shocked seeing the transformation on that. So I was pretty happy. Um, the second part of that, or who are your acting role models? You mentioned some. Um, I love B films. I don't know. Uh, just a character to describe kind of one of the characters I'd like to do. Do you remember? I think Sting's role was in Snatch or two Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
That's right.
It was two. Sorry, I didn't quite hear you.
Yeah, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
Like just the old man behind the bar telling the young gangsters how they're not gangster enough. That's brilliant. I would love to just kind of be dropping that level of wisdom onto the other characters. Um, and acting role models. I like character actors like John C. Riley. I don't like everything he's in, but I can't deny the amount of talent that man has. Um, yeah, I'm trying to think of
You have Daniel Day Lewis, right?
yeah,
The
yeah.
best actor. I think he's the best. Just wow. I don't even know what to say about him.
You know what I like actors who can churn out films, like actors and directors who go in there with like an economy mindset and they can flip around. Daniel Day Lewis takes so long to kind of get into a role. I think that level of acting sort of scares me, in a way, in the fact that total immersion into it. I'm not sure if that's what I idealize. Um,
Well, there's one actor, Paul. He was in a movie that I watched 2 days ago. He was in the movie JFK. Now, this is not the movie I was telling you about earlier before the show
okay.
started, but I watched JFK for the first time, and it was pretty good. It was pretty good. But I'm talking about the actor Gary Oldman, and I looked at Rosie and I said, Gary Oldman's in this movie. I said every time I watch Gary Oldman in a film, I always have to like say, "Oh, that's Gary Oldman." He
Yeah.
never looks the same in his movies, and I love that about him because it just means that he's become that character. And I don't see Gary Oldman; I see that character until I recognize his eyes and I recognize his voice, and I'm like, okay, that's Gary Oldman.
Christian Bale has been gone through some amazing transformations as well. We're getting behind on some of the questions. Ella Grace is saying Philip Seymour Hoffman. I don't know if she's saying that I've got that face or. Thank you. My ex-wife used to say I reminded her of Michael Rappaport. She liked Michael Rappaport at the time. That's not why she's my ex. Nick is saying, bravo for your show, Paul. Lenny, can you talk about your comedy stints? Look, Ma, I'm on TV. Do you want to tell us the story behind that?
Okay, well, thanks, Anik, for that. Always pushing, promoting me, of course. So um, we used to Rosie and I and a very 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 close friend of ours, Zane Page.
Lenny, if sorry to interrupt, if I could just suggest you look closer to the camera rather than down. Yeah, that might be a bit too much, but yeah, we're doing it. This subtle direction, subtle direction.
So um, basically, we Rosie and I would get together every once in a while with a very close friend of ours, Zane Page. That's the name he goes by, and he's a videographer, photographer, musician, really talented fella. And we would get together and we do these funny bits, and that's what it's called, funny bits. You can find it on YouTube. It's just I think we have like about 7 or 8 episodes, and basically we would just go around town and improv our stuff. I mean, it wasn't scripted or anything. I mean, maybe 1 out of the 8 videos is probably scripted, but um, there
Was Tapped Out scripted?
Tapped Out was definitely scripted. Wait, was that the no? Wait, Tapped Out was which one was that one?
Well, Teresa Doyle, it's Your Royal Highness, the Outlaw, is big fan of funny bits and especially the comedy skits with Zane, especially the one Tapped Out. That's their personal favorite.
Well, can't remember which one Tapped Out was. I mean, there was the one with the chicken where I'd go around, annoying the hell out of people inside of a shopping mall with a chicken. I'd squeeze one of those toys that you squeeze and it makes a noise once you release it. So we kind of did that. I went into like different types of stores. I went inside the liquor store. I went inside, a grocery store. I went inside shopping malls and just going behind people and squeezing it without even, they would turn around and I would just be like, minding my own business, doing whatever. But I mean, no, that wasn't scripted. Definitely not scripted. The only one that was scripted was some sort of promo video that we kind of did. We kind of made fun of one of those, 1-800 promote. What do you call those? At 2 o'clock in the morning, one of those.
The 1-900 numbers, or are you talking about an infomercial for pots?
Yeah. So we did one of those infomercials of how to become a great actor without learning your lines. One of those things. So we did a lot of parodies on film. That was a lot of fun, and we still do it once in a while.
Work in silent film. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Rosie gave us a bunch of good questions here. As what are the first film roles that inspired you to want to become a performer? And also asking, are you a singer and musician? Because
Okay.
that was something I only recently found out about you. So,
Yeah.
uh,
So I guess just to very quickly with actor, you know, helped me, I guess, decide to become an actor. I guess who inspired me in becoming an actor. I mean, Daniel Day Lewis is definitely a number one inspiration, at least in on the drama side, in the method acting, or whatever you want to call it. I mean, I don't know if you want to call it method acting. I think it's just a hardworking actor. That's what I call it. And I think Daniel Day Lewis is definitely one. Al Pacino, obviously, is Al Pacino. I mean, he just inspires me how to scream, and really, get in there, get in the
fill the
scene.
space.
Yeah, just fill up that space. There's something about Al Pacino that Daniel Day Lewis doesn't have. All these great actors, they all bring something, and that's one thing that inspires me to say, what can Lenny bring? All actors steal a bit from everybody. You can see that through the years. But if you can, you know, leave something of your own there, I think that is one thing that I'd love to do, is just to say, well, maybe another actor can say, well, I could see a bit of Lenny inside that actor. So I think the inspiration comes from every actor that left a bit of themselves inside, like a mark. They leave a mark. So I mean, De Niro, I mean, all the greats, of course, right? But then again, I can always go to guys like, Chevy Chase, just, in a specific movie, just that little role that he did, like it could have been the dumbest movie in the world, but just something like that inspired me.
Do you know how he was only supposed to write for Night Live?
Oh,
And
really?
then like 2 weeks prior or to them going live, he just started doing his pratfalls in front of Lauren Michael, and then he became a cast member, and he got the news role, which was supposed to go, uh, if I remember correctly, it was supposed to go to Belushi,
Oh, okay.
and so there was tension between them at that point. So
Well, I know that there was he used to do like a live talk show, Chevy Chase, and I think it bombed, right? He tried to do it. There was a
that
couple of
that
episodes.
was after SNL, though, wasn't it?
It was in the early 80s, maybe around,
Yeah.
it was in the early 80s, maybe 83-ish, around there. And he bombed it. Like you can actually see it on YouTube. That's how I found out about it. And you just see he's kind of doing, I don't know whoever wrote his jokes for him, but he's just there on stage. He's doing the beginning show, he gets on stage, and nobody is like, not a word from the audience. And he's just, you see the sweat coming down his face. And it was just horrible, horrible.
I think that was when there was like 5 or 6 different late night shows all kind of came out at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
But yeah, so as a singer musician, to go to that, I haven't sang in a long time. I was one of the first things one of the first careers I wanted in my life was I wanted to become a rock star. I mean, I grew up in a house always with music. So, my mom used to listen to Elvis and Tom Jones and all the crooners and everything. And I said, I'd love to be like that. And all the, everybody just screaming my name and, all that kind of,
mhm.
visual. But yeah, I became a songwriter in the early '90s. Wrote about my pain, and loss, and it was very helpful because songwriting is very therapeutic. It's kind of like acting. You put your thoughts and your feelings out on paper, so it's very cool. And then you get to sing it on stage, which is even better because then you get to vocalize your feelings, and it was something. But then you know that ended after a couple of years.
There's a term I use. I coined it while teaching like the basics of stand up comedy, but it comes through. I use it in acting. I use it like you sound like you use it in singing. It's emotive context. Like if you can connect to the emotions behind the words, like even if people don't understand the scenario, they can at least understand what the base emotions are, and they can connect with you on that. Ella Grace says they want to hear you sing. So
Yeah, that question was bound to come up, right?
after that earlier question, that's for sure. We got a couple questions have come in. Enrique Loni asked, "How would you define? How would I define the career of acting? Like, what is acting for you? What made you become an actor? What do you get out of it? I get to be my own boss. That's one of the things I love about it. For me, it's the chance to play make believe, to follow into this world and just adapt another character to do it. And if I can embody it enough to have other people believe in the world around me, around that character, then I'm kind of doing it right. I believe everybody's an actor, but only the people who can semi support themselves on it can be an actor, and I'm on the semi support. Um, it's been a weird road for me to get into acting, truthfully. Um, Rosie is asking, who are my stand up heroes? What's the first comedy movie that you recall giving you the itch to do comedy? Well, I made Enrique laugh. Hopefully, it was a good laugh. The My stand up heroes, Bill Hicks sort of changed how I looked at stand up. That was a huge one. I loved Robert Klein. I George Burns has been an influence on me in performance in general. Just like I saw the Oh God movies when I was a kid, um, and what he had said is the secret to show business is sincerity.
That's
As
right.
soon as you can fake that, you've got it made. So George Burns, he kind of put it out there for stand up. I think right now the stand up that excites me the most would be like Bo Burnham. I haven't seen what he has done since Make Happy, but his special Make Happy literally makes the hair stand up on my arms and the back of my neck. It is so well done. It's musical comedy. It's great. Um, just would you do you have any stand up heroes there, Lenny?
Um, it's funny. Comedy has always been hard for me to watch. Yeah, I have a hard time laughing at just. I mean, I get it with comedians. I get what they're trying to do, and I think that is my problem. Every time I go watch a stand-up show, I enjoy it to the max. I enjoy it. I love watching comedy. You tell me, Len, let's go watch a comedy show. I'm there. You know, but I think it's because I think I zone in too much into their act that
Mm.
I'm not in the present moment listening to the punchline. So when the punchline comes out, I kind of look around and I see everybody laughing. And I'm like, that was pretty good.
It might be the writer in you and the fact that you're trying to see where the story goes so you can pick out the left turn ahead of everyone,
Yeah,
which is a bad habit that I get into in watching comedy.
yeah,
Um, because I that's what I do. I try to craft the best jokes I can. Um, one of the things that sort of annoys me in comedy are those comedians who are telling jokes just to show how clever they are. Like I believe there should be sort of a like a soul to comedy, and it's not about just being the weirdest left turn. It's about selling something that can be real and bring amusement to people. I mean, I understand there's some people. It's being the cleverest one in the room is the enjoying factor of them, but maybe because I understand the craft, it's not always. I don't see it always as clever. Does
Yeah,
that make?
I guess, any comedian. I mean, I've never liked comedians that swear. I don't like people that swear. Period.
Oh
Uh,
fuck no.
no. Yeah, well, you're different, Paul. But but I mean, any comedian that needs to. I mean, there's a time and space, right, inside in what you're saying. So I mean, if you need, if you need to put that swear word in there, it's because there's a reason, right? So or if it's vulgar. I mean, anything sexual. I mean, I'm not. If somebody has to talk about sexual parts. I mean, I don't want to have to. I'm not going to laugh at it. I don't know why, but I don't know, for some reason, a girl giving a guy a head in the cinema, let's say, is not funny for me. It's not funny, But yet they'll start that way. Some comedians, so I was at the cinema, and I was, girls going down on me, and well, okay, well, that's not funny.
Yeah, it's true. I did radio as well, just like college radio for about 4 years, and uh, I got to meet like a diverse group of people, including um, uh, some punk rockers, some old school punk rockers who gave me sort of like the lecture on is the need to swear is a sign of a poor vocabulary. And I'm also of the belief that like those swear words generally have power, but only if they're used sparingly.
Mhm.
Right? Like if I made you laugh by just dropping in the F bomb earlier because we haven't been using it. And that's one of the aspects. If a comedian is up there and he's F this, F that, F whatever, then if he tries to use an F word as a word of power, it's not. It's been sold. It's already gone. Um, Now, the nerdy filmmaker is saying Bo Burnham is fantastic. Love him. Seriously, make happy. It's on Netflix. Check it out. Um, Zane Music. Lenny, do you prefer doing comedy or drama, or which one do you most relate with?
Well, there's one thing that I've learned through my training of acting. This is something.
And Ella is saying what? Eddie Murphy isn't funny to you? Just
Yeah,
that got thrown out there.
yeah. Well, okay. Well, I'll answer George first,
Hmm.
and Zane Page. What was his question again?
Do you prefer doing comedy or drama?
Right,
And which one do you most relate with?
right. So it's kind of, this is something that like I was saying, my acting coach, Anik Matern, always constantly tells me. And I've heard it through other famous coaches, or interviews or documentaries about acting and stuff like that. They always say the same thing. They always say they're kind of both the same. There's comedy and drama, and there's dramedy and comedy. Dramedy, I guess that's what you put them together. That's what you get. So I mean, you don't have to be funny. Or you don't have to act funny to make it funny. Sometimes, seeing somebody fall down the stairs, which is a very serious thing, right? The person can break their back, be paralyzed for something. But yet you see somebody fall down the stairs, you're going to probably laugh, at least in a show, at least, or in a film, right?
Yeah.
But hopefully not in person. That would be terrible. But um, but I mean, they're kind of both the same. There's comedy and drama. I find myself in both. Um, I personally love drama only because, oh, I don't know. I like them both. I'm just trying to. I'm trying to find my comedy in drama, and I'm trying to find my drama in comedy. I don't know if that would make sense, but I'm trying to find them both within each other. I mean,
life has both, and that's why good art that reflects life has both.
That's right. That's right.
Um, I sort of skipped over this part that Rosie had asked. What's the first comedy movie you recall giving you an itch to do comedy? I can't think of a movie. I remember as a teenager making mixtapes, like doing all the different characters' voices. I never shared them with anyone, but I think I was inspired by like morning radio guys. Just just doing a really juvenile type humor mixed in with like a music that I had recorded and like two tape players side by side, trying to cut it properly. That was kind of my first go. I was in the drama club in high school, but then post high school it was like, oh, I'm that's not a job. I can't go in to study that. So I had a bursary that I ended up not using just so I could become a bookkeeper. It was not, it wasn't until went to a comedy club with a friend and I went, I could be funnier than that. And my friend, with all the good confidence a friend truly has for you, just looked at me and went, yeah, right. And so the next week I did comedy, and that's trying stand up comedy is a lot like trying heroin. There's a good chance you will be hooked for life.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Uh, So Rosie saying, Lenny and Paul share one of your most memorable moments in your profession so far. Have you met any of your on-screen or on-stage heroes, and did they meet expectations? Um, Lenny, I'll let you take that one first.
All right. I met a lot of celebrities before I even got into film. I used to work at a restaurant back in the late '90s, and I served like many actors that would be shooting in the city. I served Robert De Niro about 4 or 5 times on different occasions. The first time I served Robert De Niro, he was having lunch with Marlon Brando. I forgot what
The
movie they were.
score.
The score, I think, yeah, that was around 97, 98. Um, Danny DeVito, Gene Hackman, all these bunch of actors that would come, every summer when they would be like shooting, in the city. So they would come to that restaurant. I'd serve them all. It'd be great. All the Baldwins, of course, at least most of them, except for Alec, the favorite Baldwin out of all Baldwins, of course. He doesn't come to the restaurant. All his brothers come to the restaurant, but not Alec. But that's fine. Um, Anthony Hopkins. I have a great story about Anthony Hopkins. Anthony Hopkins was having dinner by himself one night, and there I am. I'm serving him, and he was very polite. They all are. And so, anyways, the night ends. I leave. The next night, it was during the jazz festival, and there I am walking in the jazz festival. I'm just walking, and I passed this terrace on Jean Mance and Saint Laurent, which is pretty much the main stage. And as I'm walking by, I kind of walk by this guy that looked like Anthony Hopkins. And I walk like, maybe 10 steps, 10, 15 steps past him. And I'm like, was that him? And as I turned around, he turned around and he looked at me, probably saying the same thing what I was saying. Hey, that was the guy at the restaurant. So that made me feel good, that Anthony Hopkins, recognized me. But I mean, on set, no, I worked with Ben Stiller. Was the first real time that I worked alongside of a well-known actor. I learned a lot from him. You don't really have to. I think when you're working with big names, I would hope that no one is really, you know,
Fanboy.
yeah, you really want to take the moment to learn because this is the time that you could learn. And I remember the casting director that I spoke with. I'm not going to mention their names, but he gave me a little pep talk about this. And he said, Len, take the time to, every day you're going to go in, it's a month, you're going to work with this guy, learn from these guys. These guys are the best, and they work with other great actors, and you're going to learn a lot. And I took that as a note, and I think I'm going to always take that as a note with every actor, famous or not. I think it's all about focus. I think it's all about learning from each other, whether they're a big name or not. You can always learn from somebody you work with. How about you, Paul?
I Well, I worked for Just Laughs for over 13 years in various capacities. I got to meet, for the most part, stand up comics who have made it to that level. Um, they're all pretty much the greatest people. I've only had like one hero kind of disappoint me a little bit, but I met Jim Gaffigan. I met Will Ferrell the year, the summer before he started with Saturday Night Live.
Wow.
And like, so he had already been signed, already had been announced. They were at in Montreal as like the new cast members of Saturday Night Live. And he was so giving with his time, so smart, so funny. Um, yeah, Jim Gaffigan showed me like the fact that how he was using his iPhone to record that, and told me about recording an album just using his iPhone. Um, there was, well, I do a talk show with comedians. I had Chris Fonseca on, who just recently was picked by Dave Chappelle to open for him for one of his outdoor shows, the one in December. Um, there's uh, Joe Starr. There's so many amazing people that I have met. I mean, uh, yeah, it's hard. It's hard to say. I met. I was managing a comedy club in Halifax, and they were filming the movie um, Outlander, not Outlander with Sean Connery. It might be Outlanders. I'm not sure. Um, and John Hurt actually came to the club because they weren't filming that night. But he walked out when one of my friends was on stage. Just that was enough. But we had a little conversation outside. He was incredibly nice man. So even though he thought that humor wasn't for him, he was still very very kind in sharing as he shared. So that was pretty cool.
Wow.
Uh, yeah, I've had the pleasure. I mean, um, I met Ted Kochev like on the first thing I ever filmed, and that kind of gave me a false sense of how easy it was to be successful. Because I went from being an extra on a TV pilot to becoming a silent on camera, and then being handed a script for the first episode after the pilot, just like that at age 19, age 20 or so. And then the pilot, then we were told it was picked up, but before we started filming, it got canceled. So thank you, CBC. Um,
It happens.
it happens. It happens. And filming something out in Nova Scotia never really works. It's always a struggle with the Lockhorns in Toronto. Um, but yeah, that was Louis Del Grande. That's a name that older people in Canada will remember. Seeing things being such a big CBC hit back in the day. So I got to work with him. I traded lines with uh, why am I blanking on the names? Fraser Crane. Um, yeah. So
You
all
know,
that stuff.
I
And,
don't
and
go ahead.
I was a stand-in for Tom Root. Tom Root is that guy is incredibly talented and amazing, and he's somebody that plays dramas and comedies and does voiceover work. He's so amazing.
Wow.
Uh, yeah,
This is the kind of thing that, this is the pleasures,
yeah,
of the business. The more you stick with it, you try not to quit, and you just want to, eventually you start meeting, these kind of, people just like you, people you look up to, people that got you inspired to get into the business, and you realize you start working with them after a while. And then, that's the pleasures of this business. It's amazing.
yeah.
Yeah.
We got a question, Lenny or Paul. How do you learn to be a comedian, and can it be learned, or is it something you're born with? Like how much of it is it nature versus nurture plays in it? What's your take, Lenny?
I'm not going to say I'm a comedian, but I will say this. Rosie got me a book once, how to write as a comic, and I opened up the first book, the first page. I turned the front cover, and I get to the first page, and the first page says, "If you're Black, Jewish, or Italian, turn to page 12." Go straight to page 12. So, I mean, I what I get from that, I mean, I don't is that I mean, even you're Irish, right, Paul? So, I mean, I think anybody
I'm
that,
a mutt.
but I mean, I think it all comes down to how you were raised, how you can't make up stuff. I mean, yes, you could be a great writer and make up some great jokes. I guess you can. For me personally, I've always been inspired by truthness. People that write from their experiences, whether they're making fun of their parents, whether they're making fun of their girlfriends, whether they're making fun of themselves. You know, um, for me, that's what it can't be made up. I mean, you can't learn it. I think it's something that I don't know. Can you learn it? You're the expert, Paul. I mean, I don't know.
I used to give like an introduction to stand up course, and what I would tell people is I can't make you funny, but what I can do is help you craft your funny. Like a big part of being a comedian is understanding joke structure and editing. Like word economy when it comes to humor is key. You need to know how to what is absolutely necessary to be in the setup and then not say anything else. And then when you do the punch or punch line, make sure the most important part of that is the last syllable you say because you don't want to be cutting yourself off with laughter. A lot of that is the absolute basic joke structure is a setup and a punchline, and you need to make sure that is it as concise and clear as possible because the more times you're hitting punchlines in say a 5 minute set, the more times they have a chance to laugh. So if you tell a joke that's 5 minutes long with one punchline at the end, they're not going to think that's a good 5 minute set.
Okay,
Right. But if you're getting a punchline in every 30, every 20, hell, every 10 seconds, that's going to be a great 5 minutes. You're blinking at that, but Robin Williams live at the Met, and I did the math on this one. It's I think it's 14 every 14 seconds. There's a solid laugh, and that's for an hour long set.
wow,
So 14 seconds. So you should be able to hit 10 seconds in a 5 minute set once you kind of have an idea of what you're doing.
right.
It can be learned, but it does take a little bit of study and takes a lot of practice. And getting on stage is very important to a stand up comic. And there haven't been a lot of stages to get on recently. So,
Yeah, and earlier on somebody mentioned Eddie Murphy, and Eddie Murphy is a different kind of style, right? I mean, at least I'm just going back to the years of Delirious and Raw when he used to
yeah.
do stand up. I mean, it wasn't every 10 seconds. He's not a comedian that will make you laugh every 10 seconds, but I mean,
Yeah, but no, but he would hit with a punchline and then a tag and a tag and a tag, right? So it might take him 2 minutes to get to that first punchline, but then you've got four separate good laugh points after it. So it does work out to be like every 20, 25 seconds.
right,
And he's more. I consider him more of a sketch comic. Like if we're going to talk about stand up comedy, the people who changed comedy, like would be like Lenny Bruce, Mort Saul, when they started being more political and more interactive with their audience. Like prior to that, it was like vaudeville and Henny Youngman. Then you get to like the people that came out of that being like Dick Gregory, uh, and Richard Pryor, and eventually George Carlin. Like George Carlin would be sort of like one of the next big waves that change. And Yeah, so ethnicity in that book that you were mentioning, ethnicity is linked to it because people with more freer cultures or more freedom to express found it easier.
yeah,
But I think nowadays most everybody has a little bit more freedom in expression. And then the next big step that came up was Bill Hicks, who was groundbreaking at the time. But if you get a young comedian to listen to him now, they go, "Well, that's just what comedy's like." Yeah, but prior to him, it wasn't like that.
right, right, right. You
Uh,
know,
Enrique is saying I see my life as a comedy rather than as a drama, but I know tons of people who see their lives as a drama. There's a lot of people who bring their own drama into their life just because it makes it more exciting and helps them explain why they don't have the power they wish. I don't know if that's a little bit of pop culture thrown out there. What's your take on that, Lenny?
I mean, like I said before, life is a comedy. I think I mean, there's certain, everybody. I always tell people that everybody has their own problems, and there's one thing is that we love hearing about other people's problems because it just makes our problems a little bit less, dramatic, or at least we don't want to think about. And that's what comedy is. Comedy is supposed to make you forget about your rough day, you
Yeah,
know. Um, so when you're looking at other people complaining about their day, it kind of gives you a break from yours, and you could look at that as comedy. But Enrique's right. Life
yeah,
is a comedy for myself, at least for me. I hope for everybody else as well. Hope
yeah.
you want to wish drama on anybody.
Rosie is saying, early in your career, what were your best piece of advice that you received? And now that you're more seasoned, what would you tell your younger self? Lenny?
Oh wow, I'm still my younger self. She knows that. I think the best piece of advice I ever got. I got a lot of advice. I'm an advice seeker. I love listening to wise people older than me that have gone through a lot of experience. I love listening to them. One of the advices I got was when I first got into radio. Aaron Rand, who hosted the morning show, when I was there, he told me. He said, "Never try to be funny. Just be yourself, and people will either find you funny or they won't." You know, um, and that was very good advice. And ever since then, I took it, and just be myself. And that's why I don't get it when people say, "Oh, Lenny, you're so funny." I don't get it. I'm just being myself. But if
Yeah.
this makes you laugh, then hey, great. You know. Um, and what would I tell my younger self? I would tell myself, never. The most important thing in your life is what you can offer to the world. And if you can tap into that purpose, you know, if you can tap into it, don't let it go and just never give up and just keep doing it and just keep doing it. There's ups and downs in everything in life. So this is no different. The entertainment world is probably the worst, and everybody will always tell you never be an actor, never be a never do something more stable. But I lived in an area most of my life where people didn't believe in that dreams can come true until I met Rosie, and and I started meeting directors and actors and singers, and they're making a living, and I was like, wow, people are actually paying the rent by doing this. How come no one's ever told me this before? And that's so never give up. That's definitely something I would tell myself and every other young actor or anybody else going into the entertainment world. Never give up. Don't listen to anybody. Just listen to yourself. That is it. Bottom line. Listen to this. That is it.
I come from a very blue collar family, and so um, I never felt that it was a job that I could do. So I did a bunch of other things and did it just as a hobby for a long time. But it's been 5 years since I've had any other job than entertaining. And earlier on, there was like 3 years where I had no other job than just being an entertainer. Um, One of the best pieces of advice I got was somebody telling me just write it out, because I'd have these joke ideas and they'd be very short, but I'd never go anywhere with the idea. So I just bring them to the stage like that, and somebody says, "No, write that out. That could be a better bit. Write that out." And if I was to give my younger self advice, I would say, don't write what you think people will laugh at. Write what makes you laugh, because there's a difference, and it comes in with the emotive context and the fact that when you're feeling it as well as saying it, then it's a better chance to connect. And there's times that I've written stuff that not all the audience will get, but then there'll be somebody in the audience who gets it, but they'll get it really hard, and that means something to me. So to make that kind of connection, Dan G is saying, Lenny, is there a role that you would refuse?
Yeah, um, that's a very good question. at this point in my life, I don't think I'm able to refuse any role. but but I think at one point there is going to be a. I mean, yes, no, even at this point, I mean, I don't want to have any roles. All roles are important. I mean,
There's no small roles.
there's no small roles, but I mean, I would really hate. I'd probably do it because I would look at it as an as an actor and say, well, this is a role I can play. But that's a good question, Dan. I don't know. I mean, I guess something that's really horrible. I mean, I would definitely refuse if I don't know. That's a good question because even if I would choose, if I would get a role to play as a rapist, um, I would take that role very seriously because,
Mm.
and I would do it as horrible as possible. I mean, I would do the best I can to be I would want you to hate me. That's how good I'd do that role. I'd want you to hate me. I'd want the viewer to really wish. And I always say that to Rosie when we watch movies and we look at bad guys. You earlier on in the show, Paul, you mentioned that you'd love to play a bad guy. You
Mm.
know, somebody might look at you and say, "Why would you want to play a bad guy?" Well, you know what? I always tell Rosie when we watch movies, she's always the first one to say, "Oh, I hate that guy. I can't stand him what he did to his wife." Or I hate like, sweetie,
Mm.
he never really did that in real life.
Yeah.
He's acting, which means he's doing a great job at you hating him. And so, is there a role I would refuse? I mean, yeah. I mean, if I got offered a role in a porn, I guess I would refuse that. But I mean, if it's honest filmmaking, I mean, I don't think so. At least not now. I mean, I guess hopefully never. I hope I never have to refuse a role. I guess that's my answer. I hope I never have to. How about you, Paul? I mean, it's hard.
I've played the creepy roles already, so like a lot of true crime reenactment right here. So please stop dialing 9-1 right now. You don't need to finish dialing that. I got my UDA credit playing like a German sex tourist. So yeah, I think if it comes down to if I felt it was something that was say trivializing, like playing a rapist or something, and I felt that the film was trivializing the event, then I might say no. But other than that, it would have to be like informed considering the what the entire project was is like. Enrique is saying, Lenny, I love your glasses. You look very intellectual, arty, borderline funny, and it matches the background. So good job for the set designer. So that's
Enrique, these glasses are these are Woody Allen glasses. These are Woody Allen signature glasses. I don't know if their year is there. The year there, 1950. Woody Allen glasses. I saw them at a glass store and I picked them up right away. It was really one of those celebrity glasses kind of places.
and this is the reason why it's called Two Guys, Eight Eyes. Right here, it's the fact that we both wear glasses. I just generally wear mine for reading. Enrique is pointing out that you are funny, Lenny. Yes, you are. You are naturally a funny man. Uh,
Like
and Anik is saying that they really love George Carlin. Uh, do either of you like his form of comedy?
go ahead.
Lenny, do you want? I generally yes, but I also know that you can't be a preachy comedian until people are really there to see you. Like when George Carlin started out, like if you listen to like Occupation Fool or like his albums earlier than that, like his first appearances on the Tonight Show, he was just a jokey joke comic. It wasn't until he found his voice and he had the political climate that he could start doing those kind of complaints that he actually evolved into who he became. And yeah, so I think that's kind of the difference of how he went from being more like a stand up to being a one person show act.
Is he the guy with? He passed away, right?
Yeah, he had a beard for a while, white beard, yeah, long hair, ponytail.
didn't he have that famous joke of like
The
the
seven words you can't say on radio and television, which he expanded, and he also had said that he wouldn't go back to prime time or go back to television until those words could be said on television. And then he became, uh, I think he was the original conductor man on Shining Time Station, and people went at him saying, "Oh, you said you wouldn't do television again until you those words could be said on television." He says, "Have you seen HBO?" I didn't say I have to say them, but they can be said. I'm not saying them on a kids show. So
wow.
yeah,
I'm not too crazy about George, at least based
it,
on the two or three uh, you know skits that I've seen him on stage do. It's not my type of comedy. He's like one of those.
preachy.
Yeah, I didn't like. I'm a religious kind of guy. So even though I am not one of those sensitive people that gets offended very easily, but I don't like it when comedians, you say a joke, I'll laugh. Offend me, I'll laugh, but don't preach like as if you're trying to. And correct me if I'm wrong. Like I said, I don't know George very well, but just based on that, on a couple of his skits that he's done, I just find that he, like you said, he preaches his comedy. And for me, I find that people can get people will believe everything they hear, right? And even if it's coming from a comedian, and I'm sure he's made a lot of people think on that note, and that's fine. I mean, I
Yeah,
guess,
he did a lot of stuff also examining language. Like he has a a joke about how certain words that now exist shouldn't really exist, like pre-boarding. You know, how do you board before you board? What is pre-boarding? Um, Robert Klein, who was one of his contemporaries in the 70s, had did a parody of him where it was the seven jokes you can say on television or radio, but sound like you shouldn't. Uh, and being a flautist. Flautist is a flute player, but it sounds like somebody you shouldn't let near the children. The flautist is on the hill, and he's got all the kids gathered around him. Guam. Guam doesn't sound like a country. It sounds like something you scrape off the bottom of your shoe. So, like, you know,
wow.
uh,
Speaking of comics, another comic that was coming to mind, who I found very very funny, um, and see, he kind of like got out of comedy and went into film was Woody Allen.
mhm.
Uh, that's I've always said Jewish people are the funniest writers, at least for me. So it's a personal opinion, but I always found them to be they have some sort of comedy behind them, and they just when they write, they just make me laugh.
There's Lenny Bruce, and Lenny Bruce and the Law tried to break that down. And he's going. It's like the idea of a WASP judge, to use the vernacular of the time, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant judge, doesn't understand the same things that or a Jewish person wouldn't understand because like a Jewish person would understand that shit is worth 5 points, but on the trouble scale, where an fuck is worth 50 points on the trouble scale, because a rabbi both shits as does a priest, but only one of them fucks. So anyway, he was spelling it out because like there was usually cops in the room trying to catch him as an obscene act. And Nick is saying, "So well said, Paul. He used to test his material in small audiences also." Yeah, no, George Carlin, all good comedians, they don't go to the big show until they've tested all the material. Even Louis C.K. would be doing his set. He was burning out an hour each year, and it frustrated me because there was times I was looking or listening to his jokes. I'm going, I wish you spent more time with that because there's more there that you could have got, or you could have got it tighter. Um, and Elio Costello, welcome, Elio. Do you guys miss the old comedians, Rodney Dangerfield, Bob Hope, Don Rickles? And do you think that style of comedy would be relevant today? I think it still exists today. It's slightly evolved. Um I mean, comedy has evolved. I think there is room for that, but most audiences that are engaged in the art form are probably going more towards the people like, well, no, that's like, uh, oh, what's his name? He hosted Saturday Night Live just before the Christmas break. Used to write for it. Not Jeselnik.
Are you talking about he wore a suit, right?
Yeah, always wears a suit.
Yeah.
Right, like that. That's. I mean, it's with those people like Rodney Dangerfield, Bob Hope. There was a certain level of class. They were part of like the Rat Pack. Well, Rodney Dangerfield didn't have class, but it was uh, no respect, no respect. But there was a certain thing to that era, and there are acts that do that now as well. I mean, there's a lot of people who are going out for uh, what's the Netflix show, the Unrespectable or something like that. It's basically dirty comedy has its own following now. Dirty comedy, a lot of that is not really dirty comedy. It's just it's bubblegum dirty, and it's done so people can feel like they have it's like for almost like a tourist kind of thing. It's like, haha, I've heard them say horrible things and I've laughed, so I feel like I've lived a little bit more dangerously. I'd rather the acts that kind of make you think.
You know,
What's your take on that, Lenny?
well, I mean, no doubt these are, the best there ever was, probably aside from the few that you mentioned as well. But I mean, Rodney Dangerfield, Don Rickles. I mean, I wasn't a
I
big
miss Bob Newhart.
Bob New. You know, he wouldn't have to say anything funny. He just had to talk, and you
Yeah.
would laugh just looking at him. And this is something that, see, these are one of the things I don't know if you can teach somebody to do, or it's just, he probably spoke like that when he was a kid, and his parents would talk to him, come and eat, and be like, well, okay, but I mean, I think if these guys would be around still today, I think they would all be arrested or look at a lawsuit against somebody. It's just different comedy. Times have
Yeah.
changed.
I think it still exists today in places. Rosie's asking, what would make your top five all time comedies and your top five all time dramas, and why? That that would be a long list for me, and hard to come up with on the top of my head. Can we just shorten it up? Lenny, what is one of your top films that you like? Is it a comedy? Is it a drama? And why do you like it?
Wow, that is a tough one. But I would definitely say, I mean, look, my favorite. You can't answer that. You can't answer that because I'm 46 years old and I've watched, I don't know, easy a couple of thousand movies. I don't know. I mean,
Well, that's why I said one of, because personally for me, my top 10 list shifts around depending on the mood I'm in.
right.
So I can answer with one of my top films. It's always constantly say in the top five. But do you have one that you care to mention?
Look, my favorite. I could just answer by giving you my favorite movies, and I don't know if they're going to fall into drama or comedy. I mean, the obvious
Yep.
ones will be drama, and the obvious ones will be comedy. So, I mean, I always my favorite movies have always been, like the Ten Commandments, which I just recently saw again a couple of weeks ago. Ben Hur, which I recently saw a couple of weeks ago. I love the Passion of Christ. I love, but then again, I love Spies Like Us. I mean, I love Trading Places. I love 80s, anything comedy that came out of the 80s is hilarious. But then again, you travel, in the future, further down the line. I mean, the 90s were great. I can't remember what movies, but I mean, one of my favorite dramas, well, not recently, but at least I don't know, 10 years ago, there was a movie that, with Sean Penn. It was called um, Mystic River. which I fell in love with that movie. I mean, uh, stuff like that, stuff like There Will Be Blood. You know, it's just movies like that. I love long movies. I
Yeah.
was a big fan of the spaghetti westerns. So if you
Immersed.
yeah, if you looked at the actors, the scenes, the director always shot in wide shots, and the story was there, and you could have had two actors just look at each other and not say anything, but they're still saying something to each other, and the audience could have picked that up. And for me, that's great filmmaking. So you can see that in comedy, and you can see it in, but I mean, definitely for comedy, it was definitely be in the '80s. Anywhere in the '80s made the best comedies ever, I find.
It's also it's nostalgic for people of an age similar to us, because those are the formative ones. Those are the ones when you're actually breaking away from your family. That's why nostalgia is such a powerful tool, and why it does seem like the arts shift to the younger crowd very often, is because they're the ones who are consuming. They're the ones who are experiencing these things for the first time, and thus it has that powerful connection. And that's why when I was a teenager, movies about the 50s were big, because the people who were making the art had their first kind of experiences as in the 50s. If I was to say a film that I love wholeheartedly, it's probably the movie I've watched the most of any film. Would have to be the Alan Parker film, based on Roddy Doyle's book, The Commitments. It's an amazing film, about performing. Really, that's what it is. Has incredible music. There's comedy. There's drama. It's fantastic. Roddy Doyle approved the changes that they made to the script, to make the movie, and then later said the movie was better than his book, considering that that was his first book out there. It actually, other directors came on to finish the trilogy of stories. It's called the Barrytown trilogy. It's all based in Dublin. It's an amazing film, and he cast mainly musicians for the roles of the musicians, and so the onstage moments have a huge authenticity to it. Um,
I just recently saw a movie last night. Obviously, that's recently. It was last night. Uh, it was a movie. I don't know if you've seen it. It's called Michael Collins.
I've not seen it.
You have not seen it.
I've not. I'm.
You have to watch it. It's a good, great movie. And you know what? Watch it and get back to me. Tell me what you think of it, because I know you're Irish, and I know that you have a good knowledge of.
Ish.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
but I know you have a pretty good knowledge of your history. Every time we spoke on set and stuff, you would tell me a few things. But it dates back to 1916 during the was it the Easter Rising,
Yeah.
and so it surrounds that time there. It's about that, and I was just curious about a few things. I wasn't sure about a few of the relationships between the main characters. So when you get a chance, watch and let me know what you think of that.
I will. We've got a bunch of questions. We want to definitely get to everybody, what everybody has said. Gary Iozzo is saying, "What's your favorite movie scene or comedy bit, and why?" It's so hard to just pick one, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, favorite movie scene or comedy bit? Why?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Movie scene for me. I mean, look, my favorite all-time movie, and it's not an Oscar-winning award movie. I've always had a thing for not the Untouchables, which is a great movie too. The Outsiders is my all-time favorite movie. Favorite scene in that, and it's not even like a great scene either. It's just there's one scene where they're at the park, and I actually say this once in a while when I'm driving, but they're at the park, and Johnny and Ponyboy. I don't know if you remember the characters in the movie, but Johnny and Ponyboy. It's at the beginning of the movie. They're at the park, and they ran away from the Socias. And at one point, it's in the middle. It's probably like around 2 o'clock in the morning, and you just see like a Mustang pull around the park, and you know that there's going to be some trouble coming their way. And you know, Johnny just looks at Ponyboy, and he looks at the Mustang and says, "Mustangs, they're tough." you know, it's just I mean, it's the cheesiest thing. So I don't know. That's probably my favorite movie scene. I don't know about comedy. I mean, like I said, anything from the '80s. I mean, John Candy is definitely a favorite of mine. So anything that from John Candy or Chevy Chase is definitely something.
Yeah, I'd have a hard time picking anything out comedy wise, like for bits, because there's so many that I admire. If I could pick a scene from The Commitments, there's uh, trying not to give a spoilers. There's a they're doing a show. They owe money to well, the manager owes money to a crime boss because he borrowed money to buy the equipment for the band. And they're at a venue and a fight breaks out, and the performers on stage, the younger performers are sort of freezing up, but then the more experienced performer on the band says, keep it going." So they play through the fight. uh it's it's that, and how that scene ends, with all the members of the band being introduced afterwards, is it's a great scene, from a great film. And oh, Enrique is saying they are not, they are spy glasses. They just want referring, they're not Woody Allen glasses.
These ones? No, no, these are Woody Allen glasses. They're written right here. It says Woody Allen 1950. I
Yeah.
have the actual signature on these glasses. But these
Steph,
glasses are very popular, though. I have seen other people with the same kind of frameworks.
Stefan is saying, aren't comedians supposed to be jesters, the handlers of uncomfortable truths? They are. That's one aspect of it. It's occupation fool. If we go back to Carlin, he has a great bit about that. It's also that's one of the things about Bill Hicks. Was Bill Hicks during the very first Gulf War, he was against, he was for the war and against the troops. That was his take on it. He has great jokes that were very insightful at that time. He actually got banned from Letterman, and Letterman didn't realize that he was actually dying of cancer at that time. So that was the last chance he could have been on. And it was 12 years later, after that he was edited out of an episode, uh, Letterman actually brought Bill Hicks's mother in as a guest and played that section that he removed, and it held up. The jokes and the materials were still relevant at that point. Victoria Sanchez says, "Hey Lenny, what are some of your next projects? I heard about a show called Lenny's blank."
Yeah. Yes. There's a show in the making called Lenny's, and it's basically about me. And some, I don't know how. Yeah, oh, okay. So I guess I don't know if I'm pitching it now, but Victoria, Victoria.
It's the elevator pitch. Let's
Yeah.
hear it.
So I'm just gonna run right through it because um, we're working on a project called Lenny's. It's a series based on my life, and takes place in the '90s. I used to bartend back in the '90s, and it's basically about a guy who's different from every other everyday client that walks in there. It's the locals, that not the locals, but the I guess the same clientele that comes in every day. That live at the bar every day, and here's Lenny, the bartender, who serves them and tries to get them, listens to their problems and tries to get them out of it as best as he can. And just a bunch of funny things. It's basically a mixture of. She's probably killing me and she's probably slapping her head saying, "Oh, he's horrible But it's okay. You know what? It's better like this, only because when it comes out, you'll know. But I mean, in a nutshell, basically, it's a TV series, which is kind of like Cheers meets Goodfellas meets Seinfeld, where there's a lot of things that are going on at the same time. Yet it's very character driven. It's very character driven. The stories are great, all based on true events, of course, and but it's all character driven, and that's pretty much the focus here. But yes, that's coming out probably hopefully in a year from now, if not.
Oops, that's the wrong banner. I didn't mean to put that one up. There we are. Okay. Now, James is asking if either of us are Monty Python fans. I definitely am. I got introduced to them um, around the age of 8 or 9 from a cousin of mine who had just moved back from Europe. He taught me how to speak German. And when I was 20, I went over to Germany and found out I spoke German with a Newfoundland accent. Um, that's because he was from Newfoundland, had a very thick accent, and I did not realize how I was picking it up. So,
Yeah, I mean, Monty Python. Once again, classic comedy, right? That was before SNL, wasn't it? That was way.
yes, yeah, not uh, a little bit. They were dadaists, which is almost kind of sad in the fact that they never wanted to repeat anything, but then later on in the career, it just became about repeating the same sketches. Uh, so
Classic.
kind of thing. Classic though. Uh, George is saying, where would you like to perform a comedy stand-up show, and can I open for you? Lenny, where would you like to perform?
I think I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I guess anywhere is fine. I always love intimate shows. I don't know why. I just don't like echo. you know, I want to play in
I
a space. I don't
you okay? I performed at a place called the 3 Mile Club in St. John's, Newfoundland, and it's 3 stories tall with like balconies. And the on stage, it was I don't. It didn't feel like it was an acoustically designed room well because it was a bar, but I got the laughter rolling and the audience going. I If you stand close to the speakers at a concert and you feel that vibration in your chest, being on stage and having that experience, like coming from the audience responding to your humor,
know. Yeah, I could just imagine.
oh, just yeah, just like painting a picture, drawing them, taking them on a little road, and then hooking them in. It's just such a thing. George, I'd have to see your comedy, but it's let's aim it for the Hollywood Bowl. Let's do it there. Um,
It would be. You know what I'd love to see? I'd love to see a comic cloud surf while he's doing his stand up. I guess that would be cloud surfing up. I guess I don't know. I don't know. Maybe that wouldn't work.
yeah. Enrique is asking, do you think an act like Dice Clay would have in the '80s would be okay? Um, he still performs today, so obviously there is a market for it. He's not performing to the same numbers that he once was. Even at the time, he was what I considered like bubblegum nasty. Like he was reinforcing stereotypes. He wasn't bringing much new to it, but it was the character. And if you, he got heckled on stage performing as himself, and so he just built that character sort of as a defense mechanism, and it just kind of caught in with the zeitgeist and was that's what brought it up. So it was the character that he was able to retreat into for safety that made that character made it what it was. Do you have any comments on that,
Yeah.
Lenny?
Well, I mean, Andrew Dice Clay is Andrew Dice Clay, right? He's the guy, like you said, exactly how you said it, right? But I would say if I had to be impressed by Andrew Dice Clay, it wouldn't be his comedy,
His acting is amazing.
his acting. I still, I don't recall how many movies I've seen him in. I might have seen him in a couple, but if there's one that stayed with me was his role in Blue Jasmine,
Yeah.
which is another one of my definite favorites of all time. Just, I mean. Uh, but he knows how to act. He's a better actor than a comedian, and I'm so proud when I see him on screen. And it's I would love see that's an actor I'd love to work with. You know, he looks like somebody that really knows how to.
Dennis Leary is surprisingly good actor as well. Like I just it's amazing like the how he can reach into drama so well. Um and he's an ex-school teacher.
Oh, you know who I found out as a school teacher? I found this out the other day. Tony Danza teaches grade 10 in Philadelphia
Now?
now.
Wow. I wonder if any of those kids are asking who's the boss. I Enrique is saying that I think it's a reference to Dice was very funny at the time. He is funny and he's not Jewish, or may I am. I don't know it. Let me do my ancestry test and let you know. See, there's no funny gene. It comes down to practice. A lot of it, practice to make it better. Lenny, you were on radio for such a long time and you played such a fun role on different shows. By the way, if you're watching this, enjoy it. Hit the like button, please. Hit the like button. With Aaron and Tasso and the Saturday Night Show with Larry Day. Do you have any fun stories to share from your radio days? And there's a follow up with this. Also, you've been across stage and in radio and TV and film. Are the things that are unique to each that you love individually?
All right. Well, Teresa, I'd have to say, my radio days. Every day was a different day. There was a lot of improv. Some of it was scripted. That's one thing I always had a problem with. We had a writer in the morning show, and he would occasionally, you know, get angry with me because I wouldn't follow the script. I'd kind of go off script and improv, and you know, I don't know why, but that's how it would happen.
Because
And
you're told to be yourself.
yeah, maybe I don't know. But I just couldn't get his comedy sometimes. Sometimes it was great, and sometimes it wasn't, and I just didn't go with what I was doing. But anyways, that was a long time ago. I hope he's not watching the show. He is a great writer. Aside from that, but I would have to say that we had some great moments in radio. But there's one thing that I do always tell people when I talk about my radio days is that I've learned a lot from Aaron and Tasso in the morning show. I learned a lot from these people. I learned what it takes, what it consists to have in a morning show. You gotta respect the clock, and you got 4 hours, and you gotta do this and this and everything is timed. And I really learned from the best. They're probably the last best morning show, probably in the country. I would say, because I was with guys that I was learning from guys that have been in the business for 25 years, that had the number one morning show for 25 years. So I'm learning from the best. So just every day learning from them was an incredible experience. Working with Larry Day, who's an incredible actor as well. And I learned another side of radio through Larry, and I was happy to have mentioned it to him a couple of weeks ago on my birthday. Is that you learn from the greats in the morning show, but then you learn from the best at night. You know, so Larry Day is definitely showed me a side of radio where I can have fun, and it's not necessarily always serious. And we have to do it like this and like this, and then we're out, and then we gotta come in with this, and then we gotta go out, and Larry showed me like, don't worry about it. Let's have some fun, because if we're having fun, the audience is having fun, and that's all that matters. We'll figure out as we go along, and yeah, I really enjoyed myself working with Larry Day. Learned a lot from that guy. Very close friend of mine as well. Um, and he's definitely one of the greats. Probably one of the greats in the country too. He's got a hell of a lot of experience. That's some guy that we should have as a guest on
As
the
a
team.
guest, all right, if you think that we should be moving forward and do this again, please click like. That's very important to a YouTube channel, about showing people that the audience is interacting and hitting like when they do. And Victoria has mentioned that that your pitch that you did earlier, your elevator pitch was great, and they love you. Enrique has mentioned Faulty Towers, awesome. Black's Books, all kinds of British comedy. I'm watching Spaced. Have you watched Spaced, Lenny?
No,
I'm going back and kind of watching that. That's Edgar Wright directing, Simon Pegg, Nick Frost. Nick Frost hadn't acted prior to that series. It was like he was just Simon Pegg's buddy that he brought onto this show. So it's amazingly funny. David Walliams, I just found out from rewatching it, played a minor character early on. And David Walliams is from Little Britain, and many other things. George is popping in with I Only Do It at Home. That's where he does the comedy. We just found out what happens in the bedroom. All right. If it's laughing, I don't know if it's comedy. Enrique, wow. I wish I could remember what that one was for. I should be getting into these a little quicker. Danji, if one day they make a biopic about your life, who would you like to play you, Lenny?
I don't know. I mean, hopefully, I mean, they make biopic movies about usually people after they're dead. So all the great actors that I can mention will probably, hopefully, die before I do. But if I had to pick anybody, I guess somebody that can play me. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of good-looking actors out there. I don't know if they're able to play me. So I don't know. I would have to say. I mean, I mean, I don't picture Al Pacino playing me. So I guess we can't go with Al Pacino. Um, I don't know. I don't know. How about you, Paul?
Yeah, I don't know either. I'm aging into a Gene Hackman right now, but it would have to be like a clone of Gene Hackman to be young enough to play me when I might be actually relevant at some point. So that's a pure guess. Hopefully, one of my nieces and nephews gets the acting bug and they can play me because my family all has the same face. We all do. It's scary.
I think it's a good thing because I mean, a lot of some biopic movies that I really love were done by unknown actors, at least actors that
Yeah.
are Hollywood celebs. Hollywood A-list actors. It's some British actor. Let's say the guy who played, Freddie Mercury. I didn't know who he was until I saw the movie. Right?
Oh, Rami Malek.
Yeah, I didn't know who he was.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's Mr. Robot was amazing.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I mean, it's the first time I saw him, and I mean, I watch a lot of movies, and it's the first time I saw his face, and I thought he was great, and I just find that unknown actors sometimes, they give a little more, and sometimes it's hard to look at, even look somebody like Robert De Niro or I don't know, some great actor, A-list actor that's out there. We just saw the movie Michael Collins that I watched last night. Okay, who's in that movie? Julia Roberts, and she's playing this Irish wife, this Irish girl, right? And she has the Irish accent. I look at Rosie, and I'm like, she's one of Rosie's favorite actresses. And I said, Rosie, I said, she's horrible. I don't believe her as an Irish woman at all, and it was horrible. So for me, I would always prefer an unknown actor playing a biopic.
Mm. So there's no baggage going in.
No baggage going in, and I don't need to see the famous actor playing another famous person. I would rather watch somebody who's unknown play this famous person because you got two. It's just, I don't know, makes sense, makes more sense to me that way.
Okay. Victoria Sanchez is it's awesome about Tony Danza being a teacher. Enrique is saying Lenny, the writer, was doing it on purpose, so you would go off script. They just never told you. Uh, and you are funny, all natural. Uh, Enrique is saying his name because apparently I might be mispronouncing it. It's Enrique. Uh, but Eddie Murphy should is that show played Lenny? Is that or Eddie Murphy should play Lenny? So I Enrique is probably got heavily into the Coeur de Bois at this point. Maybe just too much pancakes. Enrique, Lonnie, Eddie Murphy should play Lenny. There we go. Eddie Murphy should play Lenny. Because yeah, Eddie Murphy plays pretty much everyone. What is it? Coming to America 2 is coming out, and
Looking
him
forward
and Arsenio Hall are redoing all those characters. So
to that. That's another '80s classic. So
mm.
definitely. Oh,
Rosie's asking, who's a comedian you would love to see in a drama and a dramatic actor you would love to see in a comedy?
well, it's hard, because Steve Carell is a great comedian, comic actor, and I've
Yeah,
seen him do some serious roles, and he surprised me.
yeah,
He can definitely act in a drama. Um, um, Jim Carrey also
yeah.
surprises me. He surprises me. I don't know about Eddie Murphy. Guys, I don't think he's ever done a drama, and if he has, I haven't seen it.
There was drama in a little bit in the oh, he did a biopic of um, a blaxploitation actor, kung fu films. Dolomite. They call me Dolomite.
Okay, I've heard of it. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's him. There's Owen Wilson, who he played in a movie. I don't. The title's not coming to me, but he played a serious role in a true story, based on a true story. It was a movie that took place. I think it was in Vietnam or somewhere in East Asia. I think it was Vietnam, and where him and his wife, he played an American who was doing some business in, let's say, it was in Vietnam. I'm not sure it was Vietnam, and it was based on a true story where the locals just attacked any tourist that was out there to make some sort of point. They were protesting and they were just killing everybody in the hotel, and he had to escape. It was kind of like an escape kind of story, but yeah, I know he played. He was surprised me as well. There's not a lot. I mean, and for dramas going into comedies, like I said, if you can do drama, you got the comedy already. It's just a matter of comes down to the script, right? If you have a good script going as a comedy, do it as a drama, and people will laugh. You know, so I think anybody in drama can probably easily go into comedy. Can comedy go into drama? Yeah, as long as the comedian is not the comedian, but the comic actor is not typecasted. I don't see why not. It's hard.
Avra Art is saying John Turturro. Yeah, he's brilliant in both comedy uh, and dramatic roles. Uh,
Actually,
somebody,
sorry, Paul, just to because maybe I don't know if that answer was for who can play me as a biopic because I get a lot of John Turturro also uh,
oh,
that I look.
possibly.
Yeah, but he's really tall from what I understand, what I was told. He's like 6'4" or something, 6'3", 6'4".
Yeah.
Be a very tall Lenny.
Yeah. Just another. Stefan, we're going to get to that question definitely. Does the political climate affect the choice of work for both of you? Yes, it does. Because as long as I still have to pay bills, I will take any work that's available to me. Uh,
That's pretty much it for both of us.
for both of us. I'd like to point out. Oh no, why the Hanukkah song, Turkey song, Saturday Night Live. Why am I blanking on his?
Uh,
You know who I'm talking about from Saturday Night Live.
yes,
From the
yeah,
he has his own film company. It's the
yeah,
major uh, Happy Gilmore.
yeah. All right.
Uh,
Anybody who knows who we're talking about?
yeah, please put it in the chat because I'm having a brain fart here. I actually prefer him in serious roles.
Adam Sandler.
Adam Sandler. Thank you. I prefer him in serious roles, like Punch Drunk Love.
Yeah,
And then the one that he recently did on Netflix. All my friends were raving about. I haven't seen yet about the diamond heist.
yeah. Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Excellent.
Uh, so there's I'm trying to think there. I'm trying to think of comedic actors that I don't. I think
I mean, the
the
hardest.
tools of acting it can go both ways.
Well, I mean, the hardest thing I've always seen in this industry is seeing anybody that comes from sitcoms going into films and trying to do something dramatic. That's always been hard because you could easily get typecasted, right, in comedy. So not so much in drama. You can't be typecasted in a drama. I mean, at least I don't think so. I mean, even if you're, I don't know, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I guess you can get typecasted if it's like come from Game of Thrones, like a successful
Hmm.
drama series like that. You could easily get typecasted. So it's hard. It all comes down to how memorable were you where you came from.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a series. If it's a successful series, it's hard. I mean, everybody was great in Seinfeld, and yes, one or two got their own spin-offs, but
Hmm.
still the lane.
Julie Louis Dreyfus was fantastic on Saturday Night Live, but that was pre Seinfeld. Uh, I yeah I mean I can even see like Patrick Stewart has done comedy, right? He was the in Men in Tights. He was the King of England, uh, and he played it with a Scottish accent, just to you know. Um, I think it all comes down to having a director who knows how to work with them and having the skill set. Not all stand-ups have the acting skill set, but that is one of the things that can be in the toolbox for a stand-up comic. Um, and oh wow, we're getting behind on some of this. So yeah, I got asked. Oh, we answered that question. Rosie saying, "What personally makes you laugh, and what are the elements about something or someone or situation that makes you laugh out loud?"
Wow, can you put that question up again, Paul?
Yep. Sorry. What personally makes you laugh? What are the elements about something, someone, situation that makes you laugh out loud?
I'll tell you a story. A very quick story. The first time I went and see the movie Batman with Michael Keaton and Kim Basinger. I don't know what year that was, 92, 91, 92, 89, 89, 90, 91, around there.
I think it was 89, but yeah.
And there's a scene where he invites Kim Basinger, who played the reporter, to his house, and Bruce Wayne, and so there's this really long table. He's sitting on one end, she's sitting on the other, and he's there and he's eating his meal, and he's looking. He doesn't know what to tell her, so he just kind of looks at her. And Michael Keaton is definitely a great one of the greats, and he just looks at her, and it looks like he's going to say something really serious to her. And he asks, and he tells her, he says, "I hope you didn't have a hard time finding the place." Now, if you know Bruce Wayne's mansion, how big it is, how humongous it is, you can't have a hard time finding the place. Anyways, just the point I'm trying to make is, I laugh mostly at at things that people don't realize they're doing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's I don't know. I love expressions. I love people's expressions. I can laugh without hearing somebody say anything. I can just look at their face and start laughing, and they'll look at me like, "Is there something wrong with my face?" I'm like, "No, it's just the way you're looking at something. It makes me laugh." For me, it's the easiest thing in life. Have always made me laugh. You know, it could be as easy as, you know, I don't know. I just
Mm.
the silly things. You know, I don't know.
Things that surprise me is kind of the things that make me laugh out loud, mainly because I've my mind is at the point that I try to break down and look at the potential for the laugh on a lot of things, and if something does surprise me, that means that I didn't see it, and that usually kind of gives me a little bit of awe. I just went onto IMDb to double check, and uh, it was 1989 was the Batman.
Right.
Um, Now, here's the thing: is I was working in a comic book store at the time, and people were arguing about how that was going to be a horrible film, that he was a bad casting choice because he was only known for like Beetlejuice and Touch and Go, Gung Ho, Johnny Dangerously. He was a goofball actor, but there was one film that he had in there called Clean and Sober, which was a dramatic piece, which I went, no, this guy's got acting chops. He can do it. So he worked well with Tim Burton in being Batman, and he to this date I still consider him to be the best Batman Bruce Wayne combination of all the actors who have played them, because he did both. Like there's a scene where you can just see the transition over his face, where though he's dressed as Bruce Wayne, he became Batman, and then he had to pull it back and put the Bruce Wayne mask back on, because he's an actor who kind of made it that way. Um, but very surprisingly, I by pulling up his IMDb, he was on Mister Rogers' Neighborhood, like in '77.
Hmm,
He 74 to 75. He was on three different episodes.
really?
Yeah,
I never watched Mr.
I
Rogers on cable when I was young.
no, and he also has been a apparently with the entire like who's the best Batman, all these new Batman men coming out. Apparently, when him and Tom Holland were working on uh, um, Homecoming, like Spider-Man Homecoming, and any some of the fight scenes or whatever, and he'd grapple with Tom Holland, he'd whisper in his ear, "I'm Batman." Just so he's obviously like Birdman, everything. Like Birdman is a great film as well. So
Absolutely.
Enrique is saying, Lenny, I love you, man. Not only are you super funny in front of the camera, off script, but you have a heart bigger than Paul's head. And this, I'm suffering from BIH. All right. So part of this show is we are bringing awareness to the medical condition of BIH, which stands for Big Irish Head. So it's like, this is like, I have difficulty finding hats. Like there. See, look how much my hands cannot reach around my head. I don't have small hands. James, Paul, have you ever been banned from a university for politically incorrect comedy? Not that I was made of aware of. I work with a lot of different groups, and my Wednesday night show, I work with burlesque performers, and I've got a special announcement for the end of the show. We've already been 2 hours, which is an hour longer than I thought we'd be going. So we'll just keep on going through here. Gary Iozzo is saying Adam Sandler giving us the name. Victoria is saying good comedians play the best serious roles. Looking at Robin Williams, Dennis Leary again, someone else who surprisingly. Enrique, I was banned from universities in general. Period, and it shows that you just weren't admitted. You didn't have the grades there, Enrique. I don't even know who Enrique is, so I'm hoping this is being played for comedy. Avra says, yes, he would play you. And that must be John Turturro. Yes. And Enrique is laughing out loud. Good. People are laughing. This is good. Jonathan is laughing. If you're laughing, hit like. Holy crap. All right. I just want to point out only 10% of everybody watching has hit the like. So please hit that like right now. That will help get the encouragement of this going in the future. I've got a video that's kind of queued up, which is advertising something I'm doing on Saturday. So I produce the Love Doctor live stream with my good friend, the Love Doctor. And we're going to be helping out with a special Valentine show happening tomorrow called Be Your Own Valentine. Do you have any parting shots that you want to shout out, Lenny, before we're gone?
No, I mean, for Valentine's, I mean, I'm going to be spending a nice, I'm going to be cooking something really nice for Rosie.
She might be listening.
Yeah, she's probably listening. Yeah. And
don't want to spoil the surprise. Okay.
No, well, she knows. I already told her. I bought a really nice bottle of red wine. A little. I spend usually a little more than occasions like this. I like to go a little bit more on the higher budget for the wine. So I'm looking forward to opening up that bottle. I'm gonna cook us a nice, maybe a nice steak with some sweet potatoes.
Oh.
Just enjoy a nice, good film. Cuddle and do the Valentine thing.
Watch The Commitments again. You've watched it now, haven't you?
I haven't seen it, but I will watch it, Paul. I promise you. I know how.
Yeah, there's stuff in that film that we need to talk about, and so tune in, like the channel, subscribe to the channel if you're watching. Enrique is saying you guys are funny. I'm also going to do something special for his lovely Rosie. So thank you, Enrique. We're going to play this out. This is an advertisement for Be Your Own Valentine, the show that is going to be available tomorrow live. You can buy tickets on Eventbrite. Here we are. Put your head on my
Let's have a fine hand for young Paul Anka, won't you please?
So there you go. That is
This is
What was that?
this is 14 and over, right?
18 and over. 18 and over. 18 and over. Yeah, Enrique's loving it. Thank you very much, Enrique. Thank you, everybody who has clicked like. Seriously, more if you should have. But this is so. Lenny, do you want to do this again?
Um, Absolutely. I mean, look, I mean, if we can just, if we keep getting the kind of responses we're getting, I mean, this is great. This is a lot of fun. I mean, it's always great talking to you off camera, on camera, on the net, off the net. I mean, it's always great talking to you, Paul. I mean, we always have great conversations going, and absolutely, absolutely.
You're a fun guy, and maybe we'll bring a guest into to Badger, so the two of us can go at them with questions, etc.
Absolutely, that's a great idea.
All right. Thank you, everybody who's tuned in. I'm Paul Ash, and with me is Lenny Iozzo, which is right over that way. Look, I pointed the right way. It's a lot harder than you think. Lenny, can you point to me?
Yeah, right there. Oh no, wait, it's right there. This guy right here. This guy right here.
Yes, Enrique is saying yes, and they're in. So we'll see you all here next week at 8 o'clock on Friday.
Yeah,
that sounds like a plan.
Yeah, and I do want to thank everybody though for coming. Everybody that put in their comments in, and everybody that said such nice things, and I love you all, honestly. Very, very nice. I love it.
There we are. Lenny Iozzo, Paul Ash, two guys, 8 eyes. Have a beautiful weekend. And tell the people that you love them. This is the